name is John Kline. My title is Managing Director of WeVideo Education. I run the sales, the customer success, a bunch of stuff. But when it comes to putting WeVideo in the hands of schools and students, that's what I do. And background is in music and creativity. I fell into this role by accident, but I'm really a trained musician, studied music, guitar, composition. I'm from the creative space.
You are definitely a creator, and I knew that very early on with you. And I came from a music editing background. I used to work for CBS Radio, editing audio. My background was editing with Avid machines. And so those of you who don't know, like editing back in the day was editing with linear and non-linear editing. And then all of a sudden WeVideo came along and they said, no, cloud-based editing. And so can you talk to the kids a little bit about what cloud-based editing is?
Yes. I mean, it's probably just something that people your age kind of take for granted, that like it's there, it's on the phone, I can access it here, there, everywhere, it's all in the cloud. But the advantages for us are, you can use any device, you can collaborate with friends, it's easier to share stuff. We just want to be something that makes it easy to create and tell stories. So that's why the cloud is our thing. And we store stuff, and there's all this technology behind all that, which I don't really understand. But it's just everything's in the cloud now, and it's because the mobile devices, which didn't exist like 14 years ago, have taken over, and that's your life. I'm sure you all have a mobile phone of one kind or another, and that's really changed everything about information, about communication, everything. Absolutely.
Do you mind if we just jump right into some student questions?
Sure, let's do it.
So I got one of the students from America, and they messaged me, how have you seen, with your background in music, how have you seen the trajectory or the evolution of editing evolve over time?
Well, you mean video editing?
Video and or audio, because there is an ability to edit, even with WeVideo, edit audio, which is incredible because you guys are like in this space as far as student editing, where students are able to create their own content. They're essentially able to create their own news shows, sports shows, Netflix kind of drama shows if they want, because you guys have those cell phones on you, which are 4K and 5K, and you have cloud-based editing now. So how have you seen it evolve throughout the years, both with audio and video editing?
It's evolved. The technology has changed completely. Like when I was 20 and I was in music school, we had to learn to edit, and it was tape. Like you had to like splice the tape and then like put tape together to tape the tape. It was tape. It was like reels of tape. And you might be going, what the hell are they talking about? Tape? Yeah, tape. Like imagine Scotch tape, but bigger, and you put music and audio on it. That's what it was. And you actually had to splice that stuff together. So the technology is totally different now, obviously. It's all on the screen, and it's all digital, and it's all non-linear. But the essence of it hasn't changed at all. It's really about like, how are you going to tell a story? What's the best way to communicate this idea or feeling? And I would encourage you guys to think of what you're doing in those terms, because if you get skilled at communicating your ideas in creative and powerful ways, you'll be a leader. You'll be like desirable in the career workplace, and you'll just be a person who can bring more to the table, and you'll probably be like just have more fun because you're creating. I mean, my wife has a YouTube channel, and she doesn't know anything about video editing, but she's able to make a half-hour show every week, and it's really funny. It's really good, and it's all her own. It's amazing. And you guys could all, of course, do that, and maybe some of you do already. You're living in the golden age of creativity, quite honestly. You all can have a voice, but treat that with respect. Make sure what you put out there is like something of value to others. That's really important.
Absolutely, and I love that quote, the golden age of creativity. We have a question from Isoline. Isoline is in France, and Isoline, you had a great question. Go ahead and unmute to ask.
So, hello, I have two questions. The first one is what motivated you to do your job today? And the second is did you have an idol?
Did you look up to anybody? Was the second question.
Oh yeah. And what was the first one?
What motivated you to go into sales and to work at WeVideo?
It was not motivation, it was accidental. I started in music, which is a creative thing. It turns out in music, even if you're studying classical music like I was, there's a lot of technology involved. And so technology became, part of my world. And there's also a close tie-in to education with music and creativity. And so that's kind of, I fell into this space, and I worked for a company that made music notation software as like a very junior person. And I just turned out I liked the business. I liked the business aspect of, a company's a fun thing to like work in. There's a lot of, you have challenges, you have problems to solve. You got to be creative about how you're going to like win in the marketplace and like make your customers happy. That's just really fun. And I just little by little, I grew into like more and more responsibilities. I never would have imagined in a million years when I was your age that I'd be sales in some way, shape or form. And I still don't think about that way. I just think about like, we're bringing a creative tool to people so they can express their ideas better and more. An idol, I don't know, Bob Dylan, I have like artist idols that I love in the writing space and in the music space, not in the video space, I don't think, weirdly enough. I mean, I'm not a video person, honestly. Videos, I've learned to do it through this job, but no, I have a lot of idols. I had a mentor who kind of helped me. He took a chance on me because I was like this musician, creative person who knew nothing about business or working for a company. And he's like, I'm going to hire you because I think you'll do okay, and we'll just see how it goes. So he took a chance on me as like coming from one world and then into another, and then it worked out okay.
That's pretty solid. And one of the kids in the United States, they wanted to know, where do you see the evolution going when it comes to technology and, user created content? Do you think it'll be more like common practice in the near future?
I absolutely do. Yeah, I don't see it turning around. It's different now than it was 10 years ago, obviously, because of the technology and how we're all connected. I don't see it changing. I think your generation is going to be creating content, tons of it. And that means you're going to create all kinds of stuff, but you're going to create content for friends and family. You're going to create content for work. I mean, we're building an enterprise sales team. And I mean, mostly what we do is we bring WeVideo as a product to schools so that they can offer it to students as a platform. But we're also building an enterprise team. And the reason why is because every company on earth wants its employees creating content to express their ideas more effectively to each other internally and also externally. So I absolutely think it's not going to change. So master it. You guys are probably all in a good position because you're already kind of like, you're already thinking that way. But I would say the better you get at presenting your ideas digitally and originally, the more benefit it's going to bring to you, in your career, because it's just going to be a demanded skill. It's going to be basically a redefinition of literacy, I think. I don't think literacy is going to mean reading and writing. I think it's going to be reading, writing, expressing ideas digitally through video, through podcasts, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I definitely think that it's going to be something that a lot of employers are going to be looking to, which, I've been seeing kids younger and younger being able to edit. And again, not a plug, but they're editing with WeVideo because they might have a very, a very dilapidated device, almost a broken laptop, but they're still able to edit on the cloud. And can you talk a little bit? One of the kids asked a question about how did you guys come up with the idea as far as cross-platform editing in the cloud?
Do we have anybody on the call from Norway?
No, not that I know of. But I know that your creators are from Norway.
Yeah, there's a guy named Bjorn Rustebara, something like that. I don't know. It's Norwegian. He's in Norway. He's a giant person with a beard. He looks like a Viking, but he's a genius and a gentle giant and amazing person. He started the company, and his only thing was digital storytelling. He wanted to make it easy. He thinks, because he's younger than I am, and he's not at WeVideo anymore. He's started a bunch of companies, but he believes in his soul that we all have stories to tell, and we benefit by telling them. We benefit ourselves by telling our stories, and we connect the world better when we share those stories. That's the essence of it. And that's what he fundamentally believes. And so he wanted to make a platform, a video platform that would make that easier. So it really comes from an amazing place, like psychically, and from like the heart. And then we built the business little by little.
Well, I think I had met Bjorn. I think actually you were there. This might have been
You met Bjorn before me, probably, Ralph.
Yeah, this was a long time ago. But like, I think it was, I wanted you to kind of speak on this a little bit, and this is from me personally. I know we have some student questions, and we'll get to that. But we had kind of an evolution as far as television and as far as entertaining content, where you had regular network television, and then along comes cable television, and then along comes streaming, and Netflix, Hulu, and all that kind of stuff. And then now we have user-created content with your TikToks, your YouTubes, your social media, and all that kind of stuff, which is taking away subscriptions. I mean, I personally think that there's a lot of talent, like the kids on here. I'm sure there's some brilliant kids on here, and I know our Italy kids are on here too, that I've seen them create this content with cloud-based editing, and ironically it was WeVideo, but where they're telling a story. And I sit there and I'm watching this on my cell phone or watching this on my laptop, and it's 10 minutes that I'm watching it. And I'm like, wow, I'm enthralled. Do you see that there's going to be more of a replacement with streaming platforms and with cable, and that replacement is going to come by way of user-created content and by way of vehicles like WeVideo?
No, for sure. I don't know if WeVideo will play a part. We're just one way that enables creativity, and there's many ways. And Ralph, I mean, you're probably more of a expert on this than me, because I don't really know the entertainment industry. But I mean, I can't watch network TV anymore unless it's sports. It's just terrible. I mean, all the good stuff is being produced on HBO and Netflix and Hulu and Apple. And then you have YouTube, which honestly, I probably watch YouTube almost as much as I watch any other kind of TV. I have the people that I love to watch on YouTube who create content on a regular basis. Plus, I go to YouTube to learn things like, oh, I need to change the oil on the car. I can't remember.
Yeah, exactly. Google it. We have that in our house. We say, Google that stuff. So if I need to create a backsplash for my wife, or I need to replace the plumbing, I have to Google it and watch a YouTube video.
Yeah, I mean, kids, if you have dreams of creating something, especially like really creative, like a show, and it could be fictional, it could be like interviews, whatever you want, whatever you're thinking, like, you are so lucky because you can actually do this. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have a lot of competition, but all the obstacles are gone. You don't need a producer. You don't need a TV station to like pick it up and run it. Like, you have everything there, and YouTube has shown us that like the stuff that's interesting and fun and cool to watch, it gets found and it gets watched. I mean, if you look at the leading YouTube, the people that get watched the most, it's across the board, and a lot of that stuff is nothing like we've ever seen on any other kind of delivery platform, and that's great because it's so democratic. It's just like, dangerous, of course. There's a danger, but I envy you guys because you really have, if you're clever and you think carefully and you learn the art of storytelling and you don't let the technology be the main thing, you really have a chance to like do anything, honestly. You can really go crazy and have an audience if you want one. If you don't want one, great. There's a million other things to do with your life.
And you can keep that content for yourself if you don't want. We had a question specifically regarding music editing and music videos, and this is from Manuela, and she should be able to unmute. She is in Spain. Manuela, go ahead and ask.
Hello, first of all, and what is the key to become so successful?
So successful as
In your career, like what would you think?
I think having a background in creativity was really, really important for me because it gave me confidence from a place even where I didn't have a right to be confident. I just had a certain amount of confidence just because I came from the arts and the creative space. And, you know, creators are hands-on, they do stuff, they make things, and that's very empowering. And that really helped me. The rest of it is just kind of like, you know, think about your network of people because they will help you in life. And that would be like Ralph, your colleagues on the call here. There's no, I always encourage people to build a network, and my own kids, they don't listen to me, but I tell them like, these aren't like your friends right now at this age, but this is your group, and together you can help each other. You can, I mean, where my kids go to school, some kids graduated 5 years ago and started companies, you know, so, and they probably couldn't have done it alone. So be creative and build creative capacity in yourself, because it helps you as a problem solver and it will build confidence. And then also just lean on others, because that's where opportunities are. And any opportunity I had, mostly it's because I built relationships throughout my career that I could like create pathways for myself. But and then there's also a little bit of luck sometimes. I mean, that's just the way it is. Like, you know, sometimes you get a lucky break, but those are the main elements. And one of the things about creativity that I didn't mention is like creativity instills in you this ability to fail often, right? Because a good person in the creative space is going to fail all the time, and that's good, because then you'll get used to it and then you'll learn to like not let it bother you. And that's really key. I guess they call that like resilience or grit or something. But I find that a lot of times artists are good at that. They're very competitive as well, but they're used to failing. They're used to trying things that don't work and experimenting. And that's really a mindset that's going to help you like not get down when things don't go your way, because things aren't going to go your way. That's just the way life is. Like a lot of the time, most of the time, it's not going to go your way. So develop a mindset to not let that bother you, you know?
Absolutely. And you know, we're gonna wrap it up in like a minute, but I just want to say that you are hitting on a lot of high points for me personally, because this idea of edutainment, what we're on right now, was originally started in a classroom. And as a creative individual, he's right. You lay all these seeds down and you hope that one day that it will yield some type of fruit, that one of them will kind of take off. And obviously this is one of those ones that kind of took off educationally. So before we let you go, our last question, is there any advice that you could impart on these kids as they kind of go off into the world and figure out what they want to do, whether they want to work in sales? And I'm going to talk a little bit about your background, real quick plug. You are an alumni of Yale, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
He graduated from Yale, which is one of the most prestigious colleges in all of America. And you didn't set out for this career, but in the pathway of life, it found you. So what kind of advice would you impart on these kids as they go off into the world and figure out what they want to do?
Well, I'll tell you, I would not have gotten into Yale coming out of secondary school, coming out of primary or whatever level you're in when you're at like 16, 17 in your country. Like I would not have gotten into Yale. I didn't apply. It would be stupid for me to apply. I never would have gotten in. I studied music at a different school, and then after 4 years of that, then I was able to get into Yale as a music student in their graduate school of music. I never would have gotten in before. And I guess the point to that is like, go with like what you're good at. Not necessarily what you want. Like, you got to strike a balance between what you want to do and what you're actually good at. And I wanted to do music, so I did it, and it opened up doors for me. But I was actually better probably at, like, running a company and like just in that space. That's just where it was. That's where I ended up. And that makes sense to me now. You gotta be careful that you don't only go after what you want to be and what you dream to be. That's important, but you have to balance that with like what you're actually good at. And that's a tough thing, because you have to assess your own skills in a really honest way. And that can be challenging. If you can build the skills you need to get to the dream, great. But I've seen people chase things and they're just not even good at it. Like, don't find out early if you're good at something. And then if it's something you absolutely have to do, get good at it. If you're not good at it, find something you're really good at, because you're going to go farther and more opportunities will open up. That would be my only advice about that kind of thing. Just like, go follow your strengths and see where they lead you. And then the dream, at least for me, was more about like, how is that going to relate to my own strengths? Then I can participate in the dream in a meaningful way for me.
And
So
I gotta say, I think that is wonderful advice, where you say find that middle ground between following your passions and living within your means as far as your abilities. And I love that. That's solid advice. And John, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to speak to us today. This is being recorded, and I'll email it out to everyone who had registered. So before I end the meeting for all, I'm going to unmute, and can we all say real quick around the world, can we all say thank you to John for taking the time to speak to us today?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.